Okay, well, I haven't done a video in a little while. I've been pretty busy with the holidays and stuff. I'm going to try to do one here for you. I'm working on my sister's car. She has a 2005 Nissan Maxima, and this is the one that 3.5 V6. There's a lot of issues with on this side in here. I don't know how much I can show you until I get some of this off, but down in here where the timing chain goes, the tensioners here on the two tops, I believe they are, the actual plastic pieces on those come off and you start getting some chain slap and different things, but it's pretty noisy. I'm not going to start it up right now. I've already got things kind of disconnected over here, but I'm going to go through it little by little here. I'm going to start pulling some things off and I'll come back and keep updating. I don't have my tripod here, so I can't actually just set it up and keep going, but this is going to be a pretty long repair anyway, so it's going to be over a few days. But anyway, so like I said, Nissan Maxima 05 V6 3.5, and we're going to do the timing chains on it with the tensioners and the rails and everything. So I've got the engine cover removed. I went ahead and pulled the battery. If you're doing this for your own car or even for a friend's car or something like that, you may want to save or write down the presets on the radio, because you're going to lose those. You know, if it's your car, not too big of a deal. If you're doing somebody else's, you know, it's a little thing they appreciate. Anyway, so get the battery out of the way. There's a little tray underneath the battery, which is right here. And then you want to pull the actual battery tray out itself, which has 5 12mm bolts. About an 8 or so. Either way, there's gonna be one back in each of these corners, and then these 3 you can see pretty easily. That's pretty rusted up, probably from a corrosive battery or something. I'm gonna just brush it off a little bit, clean it up, and I'm probably gonna paint it back black. Just, you know, I'm in there. It's my sister-in-law. You know, and I would do this at my shop as well, just to make it look a little nicer. Anyway, I went ahead and put it on jack stands. It's raised up. I've got this wheel off. This is most of the side we're gonna be working with. I have drained the oil. Power steering is draining right now, and I've got also grab a light. Also went in and pulled the oil filter off. So, ooh, that's really focus. There we go. Okay, so I pulled the oil filter off, and you can see there's quite a bit. Well, can you see? Yeah, there's quite a bit of oil leaks down here as well, and that's the power steering fluid draining. See if I can get you a shot in here. Here's the power steering pump, and I just broke loose that banjo bolt there. You can see it dripping from. Let that drain out, and we got to take the power steering pump off, so it doesn't matter which line you break loose. You have to take them both off. And what I do on a job like this, you know, whether it's at my shop or whether it's here in the garage, I'm gonna just keep like a little notepad or something handy, and if I see other things that are going on that I'm going to be right here with, like I'm going to have to pull this oil cooler off anyway, or I'm going to have to at least take it with the pan or something. So what I'm going to do is I feel like that needs a seal behind it, so I'm going to go ahead and replace that seal. It's just I'm going to jot that down and be like, hey, this is something I didn't think about before. I'm here, I see it, it's going to be off, let's go ahead and replace it. So that's something I kind of like to do. You know, save the time and the effort later. You're already there. It'll save your customer a little bit of money too if you're doing it for pay. Let's see, what else have I done? I went ahead and took loose the 2 bolts here, screws. I got 10mm heads with a Phillips in the middle as well. Took those loose and pulled back the harness. Harness has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips, kind of holding it to it in different places. And these are just little quick releases. Push the tab down, pull out. They're a little stiff. They tend to get that way, especially on Japanese cars tend to have these kind of connectors. Hondas, Acuras, Nissans, Toyotas, stuff like that. So I usually get a pair of just like a flathead or something like that and push down on it and then just pull out. But I've got those done and laid back. Now, since I'm doing this here at my garage, I've got a container like that. I've got another one too at work. I forgot to bring it back. This one's for oil and the other one's for coolant. You know, I like to dispose of that stuff properly. I don't want that stuff just out in the environment. Yeah, I'm a little green. So anyway, I drained the oil first and then the power steering so that I can dump all that in together. And since I don't have the other one here, I want to get that stuff done first. I can clean out a little brake clean, and then I can drain the coolant into it and just set it aside until I bring my jug back. But then we're going to drain the coolant. I'm going to move the upper hose and get the fan assembly out of here. Let's see, what else have I already done? Oh, there's a, let's see, where's it at? Yeah, right here. Here it is. Sorry. Front air duct, and this sits in here, kind of like this. Slides right under the edge there, and goes into the air box there. Now, there's supposed to be like 4 fasteners in here, so be careful of that. You probably need to take these off first. This one didn't happen to have it, so it slid right out. But typically, you would undo these, pull this off, and then the other 4 would come out. I'm going to skip that step since I don't have that fastener. Let's see, what other steps have I done? Nope, that looks like about where we're at. Okay, so anyway, a little bit of an update there. Moving ahead, and there's tons of oil down in here too. I'll probably get a new oil cap, and cause like I said, you can't see it real well. Or an oil cap seal, maybe at least. And I'm going to replace the valve cover. Valve cover is not necessary to do this job, but I'm right here. It's going to be cheap. You know, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Especially being family's car, I want it to run well. I don't want her stranded or anything like that. So anyway, I have caught the coolant. You know, the radiator right here, the fan and everything. So on the bottom of the radiator, let's see, bottom, top. Who knows? Top, bottom, right over there. That's not a good video, is it? Okay. Right there's a lower radio hose. There, you can put a Phillips in there, like a P2, I think fits. P3 probably fits pretty well. Anyway, and you can pull that out and drain the radiator. And then you got these little connectors. See how these work? They kind of seem to work a little backwards than I thought they were going to. Okay, so the radiator's in here. That's sitting in there like so. Which I can see. Okay, you know, that's the bushing for it. Sits in there. Kind of like. Hang on. There we go. Wow, really? We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. Okay, so it was in there something like that, right? Well, these fit in here over like that. They snap all the way in. Anyway, they're gonna go all the way in. It looks like you kind of squeeze them in and pull them out. You don't. You have to take the tabs, pull the tabs out, both out that way and this way, and they slide straight out. And this actually bushing will sit on top of the radiator. Pull both those out, and you can pull this out. But anyway, I drained the radiator, took off the upper hose, took off the lower hose, which hooked down here, came up around, and went right into here, which is the side of the block. Okay, pulled those 2 off. I showed you last time where we disconnected our connector for the fan. So then I pulled the fan straight out. Fan's sitting right over against the wall. Real simple. And then let's see, there's our radio hoses. That was the lower coming up and around the side of the block. You guys saw this in the video. Went straight across to the other side of the block. Excuse me. Then we pulled the radiator out. I also pulled the coolant reservoir. Sure I did. Well, I don't remember what I did with it. There it is. Okay. We had a hose going across here to, I think, the top of the radiator. A couple 10mm heads, and this thing slid right out, no problems. The 10mm heads, there's one here, bolt here, and a bolt here. I just screwed them back in so I ain't got to worry about where they were. Pulled that out, and I think that catches you up to where I'm at. Now, my next couple steps here, let's see. Here's my directions. Okay, next step, a few steps, yada yada yada. I'm going to disconnect the lower radiator hose from the engine. I already done that. I'm going to disconnect the power steering fluid reservoir tank from the power steering pump and the fluid cooler, and remove the power steering fluid reservoir tank. Remove the front right hand wheel and tire. Done that. Remove the fender protector side cover right hand. I've done that as well. Remove drive belt. Remove the power steering pump. Remove the lower oil pan. So there's kind of where we're heading. That lower pan, or that lower, excuse me, the right hand fender protector or whatever. Oop, there's my fastener. This thing. Where's my other fastener? There was two. So we're gonna find that one later. This thing fit in here somehow, like all of this. Let's see if I can get it in here. You can't see anything here without my light, can you? Just kidding. Anyway, this thing fit in there on the lower part. Gives you access to all that. Guess I should have showed you that last time. So, and I got that out. The right hand wheel off. So, you know, I'm not going in the exact order that you may always go in. And I rarely ever do. I'm going to go in the steps that seem logical to me. I'm draining everything. I'm going to drain all that stuff at one time. While it's draining, I may come over here and do a couple steps that are past that. I'm just going to work on what's logical for me. It's not logical for everybody. This power steering pump is not that easy to get to. Here it is. It's out, finally. Let's see if I can get some light up in here. Alright. So, I left this hose connected. This is the one that runs up and all the way to the bottom of the reservoir. One of the ones we had to take over for the reservoir. It has two banjo bolts. I really have no idea why they did that. They could have made that one hose. Anyway, I'm probably not even going to touch that. Then I'll just leave this one and replace the crusher rings on this banjo bolt. Anyway, I didn't even see this one until I got this off and got up in there. There's 3 bolts. Well, this one is the one that's really difficult to get to. It's a 14, and from down there, it looks a lot smaller. And I really thought it was a lot smaller. I tried a 12, couldn't get it, and I was like, well, I know a 13 doesn't go on an Asian vehicle typically, but I tried it. Still not it. 14, okay, that was it. So that's it. Excuse me. I went, oh wow, right in here. Okay, hang on. I went through right here beside where the exhaust comes down. Follow it down. Right there. I went right beside those and up through there. You can't even see what I'm doing. All the way up. Let me show you. Let me show you what I use. Maybe that'll help explain kind of how far it is back that way. Okay, so I took a 14 millimeter with a universal. There's a 10 or 12 inch, 6 inch in, 6 inch, 3 inch. I'm learning what I have here because I have most of my tools at work. So, and then a 3/8 ratchet. And I took that thing through over there by the exhaust and through all this near the rack and stuff. Or not the rack, I'm sorry, on this side of the rack. Through the exhaust area in here and came up by the axle. I'm gonna see if I can slow down here. Anyway, that's where it was, right there. It goes through that piece right there. All right, through the back side of it. So I was on the other side. Honestly, I really wish I had a lift for this thing. It'd be much easier to do on a lift. I could get a lot of things out of my way a lot quicker. Use some power tools, and it's just while I don't care to use power tools when I'm upside down under a car down here. I don't know. I'm just not real comfortable. Anyway, the other two I did. The other two 12 millimeters went right there. And they went for the bracket for the tensioner on the power steering pump, okay? And what we're doing here is, you can see, we're just exposing the lower part of the timing cover and part of the left side here. So all this is going to be off later. Oh, okay, let me get out. So, anyway, and that went right over there. So here's the lower part where the crank is. We'll be pulling that off here shortly. It wants the lower oil pan off, I think, next, which is right here. Upper oil pan comes up here. And there is the AC compressor. We're going to take that. I'm not disconnecting any of the lines to that. We're not opening up the AC system. But I'm going to take that and just pull the bracket back, and I believe that's what the directions tell you anyway. And then there's a tensioner. Tensioner's right there. And then there is the alternator, which we're going to be pulling off as well. I'm probably going to go ahead and get the alternator out of the way. And let's see. Then I'll probably pull off the lower oil pan And just so I have access to all these bolts, I'll get the AC compressor off and then do the upper oil pan. So, this is going to be fun. And so there's the connector for the alternator. There's the hot wire, and of course I've got the battery. We got the battery out, so you ain't gotta worry about anything there. There's a connector down there. Let's see if I can get you down in here. There is a connector right there. That is for the AC compressor. Make sure you get that undone. It's usually a one wire. One wire. It's gonna run up to this harness, and we'll just pull this whole harness back. We're gonna bring it up, unclip all this. We'll probably end up unclipping that, and I'm gonna try to fold that stuff right there. If I can get it, I'm gonna just kind of pull it up a little bit if I can. This part here, I'm gonna fold back over, just fold back over this way, and that's gonna open up most of that for us. We're getting close here. We're getting close. We're gonna have to take off. Eventually, we're gonna get in here and take off those two lines on the well, not the line, coolant. The little connector to the block for the coolant thing. And we'll just pull that back up out of the way over here somewhere. And we'll be doing the engine mount and bracket, so you need to have. I was going to wait and show you some things I got off, but everything I planned on doing is making me do something a little bit different first. So I kind of want to show you these things while they're still in the car, so you can see why I'm having to do something a little different opposed to what my original plan was. So, and that's the way it goes in the automotive business. You sometimes, things don't always go to plan, and rarely do they. Unless it's just a normal job you do every day. But anyway, let me show you what we were doing here. You know, I think I said I was going to pull off the lower oil pan and then come around and do the AC bracket and all that stuff. Well, I'd kind of changed my mind based on certain fasteners I could not get to. So, I was going to start with the lower oil pan, but all I've got here to catch this stuff is just a little drain pan. And that works, but I don't want to make any more mess than I have to, especially when I have to get back under there to work on some things. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that after I get the rest of this stuff off. So what I did do is right here on the oil filter cooler. That's the O-ring come out of it, and the bolt is got a 22 millimeter head on it, I believe, and that comes out pretty easy. And then there's the seal behind it. So I let that drain down in there. I went ahead and pulled that hose clamp off. I'm going to pull it off here eventually. It's just kind of still a pain to work with here with everything else. And then I took off the bolts for... Let's see if I can get in here. Okay. Alright, so I took off the bolts for the AC compressor going up. There was a nut there, a bolt there. Actually, there was a tensioner. The tensioner was right there. And I had to take off the tensioner in the bracket first, which I'll show you. Alright. And to get to all of these bolts for the tensioner, what you're going to have to do is take off the 14 millimeter nut. Once that comes off, this thing comes off in pieces. You got a little dust shield there, basically. You got your pulley that comes off. You got another dust shield in the rear, and then you have just a little kind of a bearing, and then you get access to the other two 12 millimeter bolts, and you get those two off, and that one, and the whole thing will come off. So, and when I'm, with a job this big, there's a couple ways you can do it to so that you don't forget where things go or where they go. It can be a hassle to keep up with all that. I use a different method at home than I do at work, just because of the stuff I have there and the stuff I have here. Like, that's going to be my method here. Hey, that goes over there in the corner. All that stuff goes to that. Okay? Now, like right there, that is a method I use here and at work. If there's a spot I can put a bolt back into that's not going to stop me from getting something out, what I'm showing you here is that one right there. If I can put it back and it just fits in a cover or something like that, man, I don't even have to worry about where that goes. I know where that goes. So I'm just going to leave that in there. And then when it comes time to bolt everything back up, something's going to need to go in that place, so I'll pull it out and put it back. So I got that out of the way for the tensioner. And then Focus. Alright. So, and I took off the nut, and that other bolt you see right there, and the top of that, came out of the tensioner. And then there's two more, one there and one there. And then there's two long 14mm ones that go in those two. And this is slid forward. Or no, I slid it back, didn't I? Yeah, I slid it back. Okay, now, and I try to slide this thing out and pull it back, you know, up in this area, but the hose keeps hitting on the alternator. So now I have to get the alternator out. So I took the alternator, let's see, there was an alternator bracket here, part of a bracket with a wiring harness. I took all that, fed it down, fed it up through here, and up over here, and just laid this harness over here like that. But that's what held that one on, so I just put it back in the alternator. At least now I don't have to know where that goes. And the other one that held it on is right there on the front edge of the timing cover. Right. There we go. And I commend you guys out here who do this all the time, because this is difficult to try to talk and use lighting and video and actually catch what you're trying to catch in the video. This is difficult. Anyway, right there's the other one. Okay. Maybe I'll learn a few more tricks along the way. On this harness that I took off, there was a bracket here. This bracket bolts on here. These two are ground straps. This ground strap goes to this one. These two ground straps that are kind of mated together go to this one. Okay, and that allows you to fold all that back up. Now there's, I think I had to pull out, I think there was a couple more of, where are they? These kind of things right here, little clips I hold them in. I think I had to pull a couple of those out somewhere, if I remember correctly. Maybe I don't, who knows. Okay, so now I'm trying to get the alternator out, right? So I get the AC compressor off. Well, right down in there, you know, maybe I can add a video and add a thing to this, a pointer or something, an arrow. Anyway, there's a bolt right down, or nut right down there that's holding the alternator on. It's the only thing left. I got the other one out, which was up here, I showed you. But I can't, it's slightly rounded, somebody's been in here before, and everything I try to get on it. A shallow won't work, a deep's almost, you know, too much, because I don't have room to get my ratchet and socket in there. And I don't have room to get a wrench on it because of everything else around it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off these water pipes we were talking about. I'm going to pull those off and pull those back around here. And then I'm going to hopefully be able to get to that. And then I'm going to pull that off. And then I'm going to pull the AC compressor back over in this area. Just get it out of my way. And we should, at that time, the only thing that'll be really left, you know, you'll have your lower oil pan, upper oil pan. I'm going to have to figure out how to get this out of the way still, once all that gets out of the way. Or it may just hang there. I'm not sure at this point. And I got to get the, I'm not taking the crank pulley off, or vibration dampener, however you refer to it, off yet, because I still have to get this thing in top dead center. If I take that off, that's going to be difficult. So I'm going to hold off on that one. So, once again, things don't always go quite as planned, so just kind of roll with them. Don't get angry, don't get upset. Patience is definitely a virtue when it comes to working on cars. So, let me keep at it. I'm going to get these things off, and I'll come back and show you that they're off. And if there's anything else I run into, of course, I'll definitely point out. Let me look around. Hopefully this should go a little quicker today, just because I brought home a lot of tools from work, a lot of air tools. You know, I got my 3/8 and 1/4 inch air ratchet. I've got 2 or 3 electric, two electric impacts, and an electric gyro, small one, 1/2 inch, 3/8 air impact. The ones I use at work, not the cheap one I got here I use at home. It's a little bigger job, so I wanted some more things. Any tools I thought I might need, I just grabbed a box, started throwing stuff in, and half that stuff's already scattered around because I've already been using it. We're going to make do with the timing of this thing a little differently than normal. These are timing pins for different engines and stuff. I think those 3 go to a BMW. I'm not sure what that one goes to, but I had it, so I brought it home. We're going to see if we can't make this stuff work. Let's see, what else is going on here? Yeah, more tools that I brought from work, make the job easier. Oh, man. you're working on any kind of Asian vehicle whatsoever, if you're going to work on it more than once, this is a great tool to buy. This is a buddy of mine's. I borrowed it. Yes, I know. I didn't buy it. I will be buying one, just not right here at Christmas. So, if you haven't seen one of these, basically what this does is this allows you with the, it's basically cable driven, like a, you know, I don't know, like a bicycle brake or something. Anyway, you got a pair of pliers that, you hear it ratchet. Well, that didn't ratchet very much, did it? Okay, so that ratchets down, and what that's doing on the other end is, let's see if I can do this with some light. There we go. You see those two little prongs there? They basically come in and clip a hold of one of these bad boys right here. So we'll try to do this. Yeah, this is, like I said, you guys, I really commend you guys out here who do this all the time. This is not easy. So now that I see how this is working, I hope that I'm not missing things for you guys that I'm trying to point out while I'm trying to look at what I'm doing opposed to watching what I'm videoing. Alright, so that would go on there like so. Right. Okay. Let's try one more method here. If this doesn't work, then maybe I'll wait until I get somebody over here. I got a buddy coming over a little later to hang out. It's actually his car, so, well, my sister-in-law's boyfriend. Anyway, man, I will come back. I will come back and I'll definitely show you how this thing works. This is a great tool to have. I just unfortunately can't use it with one hand. It's not really designed that way, but I want to show you this because this is really, and there's a lot of good tools out there, don't get me wrong, but for an Asian vehicle that uses this style hose clamp on all their hoses, it is, oh my gosh, it's a time saver. You won't even believe. So definitely want to make sure you guys get to see that. So whenever he gets over here and I get another stopping point, I'll throw that in the next video. Till then, here we go. Okay, we're just about there. Got a buddy with me here helping me out today. Michael, hey. Appreciate his help. Without him, we actually would have been stumped today until we got some more help. So anyway, got quite a ways here from the last video. So I want to show you where we got and how I got around a few things, and then I'm going to actually show you pulling off one of the IVTs for the camshaft right before we pull the timing cover off. So I think where we were at last time, we were stuck with a few things and what I was going to do next and what order I was planning on doing it and what order I had to end up doing it. So anyway, we came in here and I showed you we got the tensioner off down there, and then we were pulling off, I finally got down in there for that bolt that was kind of slightly rounded off, right in, where did it go? Right in here, for the alternator. Well, so I got down in there, and after all that was out of the way, it was real easy to get down in there and get that off. Alternator came out pretty smoothly. Let's see, and then after that, we were able to get this hose right here, was allowed to be freed, so we could just pull the AC compressor straight forward, or straight to the side rather, and then back over, and it's out of the way completely of the entire timing cover now on the side of the engine. So that opened up a lot for us there. Went ahead and I've got an engine support. It ended up that we just I ended up putting a jack under it, and it's working for now. Depending on if I can get around this oil pan or not, which I'm going to try to do, we may use it and we may not. But either way, to break this crankshaft pulley loose, the bolt, we had to end up taking the hood off completely. There's just not enough room in here, and you had to have a breaker bar, and that's where I needed Michael's help to make that happen. So I'll show you what we did there here in a second. I'm going to deviate a little bit from the repair instructions. They want you to take the lower and upper lower and upper oil pans off. Well, to do that, I have to drop the entire lower subframe, and I can do that, but it's really going to be a pain to do in my garage. So I'd rather not if we can. This timing cover comes down and meets there, and there's a decent little gap there, you know, that has a seal, I believe. definitely. You can see, and then some RTV in there. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to just fill it in with some RTV, clean it up real nice, and hopefully that'll work. If I see that it's not going to, then I'll go ahead and go all the way. But that's what we're going to do for now. So what we did, or what I did down here on the bottom side, let me see if I can get down here and show this. Oh, here comes the fun part. Alright, I came down here and removed the, what did I remove? Can you see that? Looks like crankshaft position sensor. And it gains access to the ring up there that tells you where you're at. And then you can see right there, you can see the edge of the flywheel, right? So I took a pry bar, put it at an angle in there, and held on for dear life so that the engine would not turn over, and let Michael use the end of my jack handle here as a breaker bar. And with that, we freed the crank pulley bolt. And I'm glad we did, because otherwise I'd have been stuck for another day. And I really want to get this tore down today, get all of our parts and stuff ordered tomorrow. Now I've already pulled off this IVT cover over here. You read the instructions, it gives you an actual tightening sequence, and I want you to do it in reverse order. It's basically a star pattern, and it tells you to pull it off evenly, and the reason for that is well, one, you got a seal over here that's kind of a metal bushing, along with seal on both sides of the flat surface, which goes into the end here. And then here, it's got, it almost acts kind of like a piston ring, to be honest with you, the way it splits apart here in the center. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it does split apart, and you know, so that shaft rides down in the center of the camshaft. So you want to pull that off nice and even so that you get it out of there without damaging anything. So there's a lot of RTV and sealant, so you got to kind of pry a little bit, then put it back, pry a little other corner and put it back, and keep going that way. So I pulled one off to kind of see what was going on with it, and now that I've got it off, and then I have Michael here, I'm going to let him video me taking the other one off so that you can kind of get an idea of how this works. So anyway, like I said, it goes in a, I want you to do it in the reverse order of the tightening method. So it's basically a star pattern, and we're just going to start with a reverse star pattern on this one, and they want you to do the farther out one. I don't know, you may need that, if that'll help you any. So alright, break that one loose, if I can get off of it. Alright, we're going to come to the opposite corner, break that one loose, then back up beside the other one, and then the lower one, and then the last one. Alright, once you break those loose, just run them out. I'm not even really sure why, because with this RTV, the sealant holds it together pretty well. So it's not like anything's just going to pop off when you do this. So that's not working very well. This back one's a little more tight. Maybe I should have done it and showed you the front one, but either way. Alright, so we got those 5 out. We're going to take, here we are. We had a smaller pry bar here somewhere. What is that, man? This? Yeah. Alright, so just to get it started, I'm just taking the end of the pry bar, and as you can see right here on this one, you can get right behind it and just pry back a little bit. And that's the same thing I'm going to do on this one. It's just harder to see from this angle. So, that with the connector and AC line, I'm just going to, you can see that's popping loose. Don't want to push too hard, like I said. You want to try to get it out fairly even. So I'm just going to go down in here its flathead and try to cut a little bit of the RTV, and also try to pull it off kind of even. Alright. Now there are 2 dowels on this one that are non-threaded holes, and that's kind of what's holding us up right here. There we go. Now the bottom one popped out. It comes straight out. RTV still holding us up a little bit. No big deal. We're going to clean all that out, you know, when we go back and reseal it. One nice thing about most Asian cars that I've seen, I know my Honda's that way, Nissan's that way, Toyota does a lot of this. You don't use a whole lot of gaskets. You use some kind of a liquid gasket, and you kind of make your own gasket as you go. It's nice that you can pay less for whatever you need to seal it with. Does it work as well? I don't always know. I guess it just depends on who you get it from, and you know, it's definitely a cheaper method this way. So I'll put these back in here. Did I lose that other one this time, or did it stay in there? Yeah, I think I lost that one too. Okay. Let's see. So there it is, open anyway. Oh, I guess I didn't even point this out. When the way we broke that loose, I told you, you know, I was underneath the car, pulled out the crank position sensor, held on with the pry bar, with this pry bar, kind of went in. I was laying under like this, so I kind of went in at an angle like that, and just kind of held on. You know, kind of at an angle, because you can't get a whole lot of grip on that flywheel. There's not a lot of it's exposed. And what Michael did, how we fed that in, was we actually came in through the bottom. See if you can show down through here as I go up. You know, the crank pulley and everything would have been right here, right? So we kind of fed it up this way, and then put it on to get onto the crank bolt, and then turned it up. Well, now once we're up, we had to slide, of course, past this stuff. But there's a little bit of flex here, so we held on here. Grabbed Michael grabbed the brake bar and broke it loose, and of course with the hood down there was no way that was going to happen, so that's the reason the hood's off. That might make a little more sense now that I kind of explained it that way. Okay, so both those are off. There's a couple access ports here. You got one, the lower right one is for the water pump. The left one, I believe the only thing on this side should be a guide rail here for the lower timing chain, and the lower timing chain tensioner, which I'm assuming this is going to expose to you. And with that exposed, I think if you look back through the bulletins or the repair instructions or something, it's going to tell you something about, depending on how much of the pistons is showing, it tells you whether the timing chain guide is worn down or not. I don't remember specifically. I mean, with the noise and everything, we know what's going on up here, so I'm going to pull it off and we're just going to take a look at it, opposed to doing all of the other work to get to this, to look at it, and then decide if you're going to do it. We're going to do it. Alright, we've got, you know, we pulled the other cover off. I showed you the other IVT cover we got off. I think the only other thing we did here was get out all of the bolts for the timing cover. There's 32. There's 22 of them. These two here are 12 millimeters, and they're both on the lower edge. If you're looking right where the crank pulley goes, there's a bolt on each bottom corner, and that's the 12 millimeters. All of the rest of these are just around the perimeter of the case, but there are 22 of them, including those two. So make sure you count those. If you ain't got that many, don't pry too hard. If it's not moving, there's probably a reason for that. So anyway, I think we're good here. We're gonna try to pry this off and kind of see what happens. Let's see if we find another price one. Now that's popping pretty good. You know, I don't know if that's just. Let's see. All right, got the timing cover off. I'm going to call this little clip a live and learn. When you don't know vehicles, do not force anything, because bad things may happen. You do have to have the lower oil pan off, and there's two bolts that go up to the bottom of here that have to be taken out as well. And if you don't, you just may crack it. You just might crack it. Can you see that? Yeah, maybe you can see the edge of the crack right there. Looking right in there. And it cracks all the way through to the outside. I'm going to take it to a machine shop. I hope they got good news for me. If they don't, well, we're going to be replacing the timing cover. But it'll look pretty. No idea what the cost is. I expected it to be upwards of $200–300 at least. Looking online, they look closer to $140, $150. I hope that's true. That makes me a lot happier than spending $300 on one. You know, not trying to make them cost any more money doing this job. Anyway, we got everything out, got the bolts out. I told you about all 22 of them. Oh yeah, don't forget about the 2 down there in the bottom. So there's 10 for lower oil pan. Okay, pop that off, and it was actually a pain to get off. It was so stuck to it, it was ridiculous. And then, you know, we had to get those 2 out. You can kind of see right in there. So, there is a piece, if I can get in here and show it to you. Try to get you in here. Right there, if you see the plastic, the little orange plastic on the guide rail, tensioner rail, the top part is just metal now. That piece fell out as soon as I took the timing cover off, so it's already broken. If you'll look right here as well, this tensioner is extremely weak. Like I said, I'm not real familiar with these cars, so I mean, maybe there's some things going on I don't know about, but I mean, there's a little bit of play in the water pump itself, but this chain right here, I mean, come on. I've never seen a chain supposed to be like that. Maybe I haven't finished reading the directions yet about how to put this thing back together, but I've never seen a timing chain just supposed to flop like that. So, anyway. Oh, we're almost there. It's interesting. Anyway, once again, read all your directions, be careful, and don't forget about the little things. And because it may cost you money. So anyway, hopefully this can be repaired. If not, it is what it is. I mean, that's part of working on cars and part of what you run into. You know, what do? We'll have to get that seal. That's an actual seal. And then RTV the rest. So once again, we're back at that point where I'm gonna go eat some dinner, and I might have a beer too. So I know one of you guys have already hit me up and, you know, was excited about doing this because there's this, apparently this is, you know, I know this is a pretty common problem out there, but apparently nobody's doing videos on it. Nobody's showing, hey, this is how you do it, it's how you fix it. So I'm excited the fact that I get to do this, and I'm pretty sure this one's really gonna help people. So go me. Anyway, this is not an easy job, guys. Don't expect to just jump into this. I mean, you know, I work on cars for a living. You know, this is what I do. I work on, you know, BMW specific typically, but you know, if you're not familiar with this stuff, it's going to be scary. It really is. And you're going to need quite a few tools and things to get in here and do this. And possibly some help. So, anyway, at least if nothing else, I'll give you an idea of what's involved in this repair. So when you're like, oh my God, the dealer's going to charge you what? Well, now you know why. This isn't easy. And more than likely, they're probably going to pull the engine to do it. Because it'd be, honestly, if I had this engine out, it would be so much smoother. But I don't, and I don't want to pull it here at the house, so it is what it is. Anyway, later guys. Okay, so I want to show you one of the most important things of any time you're doing a repair on a car, or let's just say a repair on anything that, you know, you're repairing a leak, like an oil leak, a coolant leak, power steering leak, probably not. Anywhere there's a mating surface, that mating surface is crucial to it not leaking. If you don't properly clean that surface, it will leak again. So, I want to show you. I use a couple different things to do this, but You see how shiny and pretty that is? That's because I just spent the last half hour cleaning up this entire mating surface, every one of them I saw. Okay, the reason I do this is because I don't want it to leak again. I don't want to go back in there because I was too lazy to do this. Now, a couple things I use. First one I'm going to show you, I want you to be very, very careful with, because if you use this and you don't know how to use it, you will gash the mating surface and you will ruin it. This is mostly aluminum stuff you're going to be working with, especially dealing with oil or coolant, stuff like that. Most of the stuff's aluminum these days. The aluminum is very soft and this will cut it. You can cut aluminum with a razor blade. If you're going to lay it on the edge, kind of at an angle like that, and try to scrape stuff off, I urge you to be very careful, and if you feel resistance, you stop. Okay? If it gets dull or dirty, clean it off or throw it away and get a new one. The other trick, and this one's a little less dangerous, put it 90 degrees or parallel to the surface, hold it firm, and then scratch it. This is a nice even cut, and it doesn't hurt anything. You don't usually gouge anything this way. The other thing I like to use, as I showed you before, the little Scotch-Brite pads. Even after if I use a razor blade or something like that, and I try to, and you know the other thing, use your fingernail. Silicone comes off real well the fingernail a lot of times. I always go back and try to get an even, nice scuff on the whole mating surface with Scotch-Brite, wherever it went, before I get done. Take the time and clean the surfaces. I'm telling you, if you don't, you're either going to be back in there or the repair's not going to work. It's just not worth doing if you're not going to do it right. And trust me, this is one of the biggest things I see that people do. They don't clean up after what they do, and it's a half-ass repair. So clean them very, very carefully. Now that all that's clean, and I spent most of my time doing that, it feels like, I'm going to start putting this back together, and then I'll come back and show you some. I've got the timing done. I'm getting ready to pull the pin. I want to kind of show it to you as I went. But anyway, real briefly, what I did was I put the timing chain, the secondary timing chain, I put back on there. There's two marks on the secondary, the exhaust side sprocket on both sides. There's two of them have punches and two of them have like there's two punch dots, and the other side has two, what are they called, like notches. And that's because they're the same sprocket. You use notches for one side and the punch holes for the other side. And you need timing instructions to do this. I'm not going to go through the entire timing process, but and then on the back of the variable valve one sprocket, there's also a mark there. You can see where the gold one or the yellow or bronze, whatever, is right there. And there's also a mark on the back side of that camshaft as well. There's a dowel pin on here that fits into a dowel on the camshaft, so you can't mess up the timing of the variable timing, which is really nice. This side has a dowel that fits in the slot, so once you get those in there and you'll put it in. You'll slide it up in there, and then you take the intake camshaft sprocket and you just start rocking it back and forth, and it'll pop in. That's when you know you're in. Tighten your two bolts finger tight and pull your pin. Do the same thing for the back side, and that gets that lined up. I had my water pump on at that time. Then we went ahead and put the chain around here. It's not showing at top dead center. Like I said, I didn't do it at top dead center. You don't have to, but I didn't. There's the pewter one at that stamped mark, right there. The other one I put on it there. There was a whole lot of slack in here, like dangling down here. Reason because these the cams sit on the lobes, and when you take them off, they want to rock sometimes, so they're not dead on time. So what I did is I put this upper guide rail back on, tightened it down, and that held me in place right here, on here and here, so it wouldn't slide off. And then I took this one and just put my 17mm down here on the exhaust side and just rotated it until it got tight. So that took care of the top. And the whole time, keep checking and make sure your timing marks are still on, because if not, that's going to suck. Then you go down and around your water pump, and there's another yellow one down here, yellow link, right there. And see if this thing will focus. Let's see if I can get in there. Yeah. There we go. You got the yellow sprocket and the little notch there. See, they're lined up. Once you got that lined up, and I actually had to turn the crank a little bit to get that perfectly. Then you want to turn it until it gets tight over here on this side, on your water pump side. Then I installed oh, I'm sorry. Let me zoom back out. Then I installed the guide rail right here, two 12mm bolts. Then I went ahead and put the slack rail back in to 8mm head, I believe. You'll get it tight, but that arm should be able to swing freely. That's where the tensioner pushes against, it pushes on there, so it won't, you know, that's supposed to be loose when it moves. Then I installed the new tensioner right there, and I looked, all the time marks still look good. So now I'm going to pull it and see if we can. Let me see if I can get you all the way in here. You just saw it pop out. So anyway, it's all tight. I'm going to go back and I'm going to check my marks. Make sure my time marks are good. And then now that I've got my timing back and the engine secure, I don't want to leave it overnight with it could be possibly out of time. Who knows what could happen? Hopefully nothing, but excuse me. Timing in there. I'm going to get out of here. I'm cold. I'm going to go home. So anyway, we're going back together. We're on the home stretch here. You've seen what goes wrong in here and what I'm replacing. They're supposed to be those are supposed to be updated chains, so that's the reason I replaced them. Those other chains didn't really look bad, but you could have stretch chains possibly. Could be weak spots or crack spots that I don't see. You know, they're about, I don't know, I think the little secondary chains are about $20 a piece, give or take, and the other one's about 70-ish. I don't know, there's a lot of parts here. I know it's a little more money. Don't skimp on a job like this, trust me. You just have to go back for things. Typically I don't recommend replacing chains, but since this is an issue and it's cutting into that tensioner, plastic tensioner rail, you know, hopefully that's supposed to be an updated style that won't do that anymore. We'll see. Either way, it'll get you through another 100,000 or whatever, hopefully.